Welcome back, and today we're gonna talk about my new updated 2023 governor predictions. So let's start off for Louisiana. So in Louisiana back in 2019, it was a John Bel Edwards win by a lean margin for the conservative Democrats. And if you didn't know yet, he can't run again because term limited, so the Democrats are in a really tough spot. The main person that has declared is Danny Cole, not a well-known pastor. There's also chances are Sean Wilson will run and declare soon, so maybe that happens, but it's gonna be just on Friday. So if you're watching this, the live chat, I will say if he decides to run or not. Gary Chambers probably will run, and yeah, there's also Latoya Cantrell, Mitch Landry, not that big of an update there. Well, for the GOP, yeah, since the last video, Bill Cassidy and John Kennedy have declined the nomination. I think Nungies are also declined, which is really interesting. So basically, Jeff Landry, his path to the Louisiana governorship is really getting quite narrow. And by narrow, I mean there's less people in the primary, so he's gonna have an easier time. There's no third-party candidates, I think. There's these people right here, but it's looking quite good. You also can't forget that this is a jungle primary, so yeah, it's gonna be quite interesting. People are saying either likely or safe are, which I could see that happening. And if you want to see how the jungle primary last went, let's go to the results last time. Overall, Landry is in a really good spot. I think that since the GOP is not going to nominate that many people like other elections, he should have it in the bag. It may be likely R. I wouldn't be surprised about that. Probably maybe like 10% to like 12%, but for now, Democrats are almost giving up in Louisiana, which shouldn't be a surprise because of how red the state is, but I'm gonna give this as a safe R win and a pickup for the GOP. And moving on to Kentucky. So Kentucky, really competitive this year again. Andy Beshear is running for re-election 2023. Let's go right there. So as you can see, there we go. So Andy Beshear, popularity-wise, he's doing quite well, which is gonna help him. There's other Democrats that might, who will run in the Democrat primary, like Pepe Martin and Jeffrey Young. If you didn't watch the last video, Jeffrey Young is basically like a meme candidate, basically pro DeSantis 2024 Democrat. Republican primary, Daniel Camron still is running for sure. Kelly Craft, probably one of the bigger nominees alongside Camron, still declared. She has declared. And since then, Matt Bevin has declined the nomination, or declined to run alongside, all these people like Macy and Schneider, which the Papa John, who would have made if he was the nominee. I could have seen Kentucky go into likely D territory. So yeah, there's that. That's why Papa John is not on the thumbnail. And polls wise, it's pretty easy win in the GOP primary for Daniel Cameron. As said, there's maybe like Kelly Craft could do it, but Cameron already has the Trump endorsement, so that's gonna help. And there's also independents like Brian Bush, Ferguson Johnson, who could make things a bit more difficult for either party, but they're not major candidates in any shape or form. So polls wise, they do think it's between a toss-up and lean D. Polling wise, it does show that Andy Beshear does have the early advantage. There's still a lot of undecided voters, so if the economy is iffy, then it could come back to haunt the Democrats. This is a tough one to tell because Cameron is a decent candidate by the GOP, but Andy Beshear does have the popularity currently, and he also has funding, which is gonna help him quite a lot. Something that the GOP is lacking nationwide is funding, and that's something Democrats are doing quite well. So I'm gonna say this will be a Andy Beshear win by a barely a lean margin, probably some like, I don't know, 1 to 3%, but it might drop to 0.5% to 2.5%. It could happen. But for now, Andy Beshear still does have the lead in Kentucky, so this is not a flip yet for the GOP. For the last one, so for Mississippi, usually this race would not be this competitive at all, to be honest. So if we go, yeah, I forget that they use electoral votes, so some Jim Crow era stuff. And in 2023, let's go here. There we go, and hide this. And yeah, so Brandon Pressley, one of the bigger updates since the last video. Presley has actually announced that he is running, so he's a big name in northern Mississippi, which is gonna help him with those northern Trump voters. Alongside, he does call himself a FDR Billy McCoy Democrat, which is quite interesting. And Elvis Presley is of course his second cousin. So Presley's probably the absolute best nominee Democrats could have hoped for in Mississippi. While Tate Reeves is running for re-election, he has announced, which is another major update, which could come back to haunt the GOP. The Republican primary, Tate Reeves, and some small GOP politicians, but currently Reeves will likely win the nomination. Unless Trump does something weird and endorses someone else, which could happen, but there's been a lot of people that have declined the nomination, like or running, like Fitch, most noteworthy, Philip Gunn, Bill Whaler, who I don't know, who was hinting that he may run in the GOP primary or run third party. I haven't gotten any updates if he will run third party, but it does seem like he's just not gonna. It just seems like he's gonna bow out from 2023, which is a good sign for Tate Reeves. Brandon Pressley, essentially, the primary by the Democrats is open only for Brandon Pressley, as the other nominees have either been disqualified or have declined. Let me see. Most pollsters do have this as likely are, but because of how decent of a candidate Brandon Pressley is, it could actually get even narrower than that. For the independents as well, Bill Whaler, it does say on Wikipedia that he has declined, so yeah. And endorsements, Presley did get the endorsement of a liberal Mississippi Democrat, of course, from the 2nd district in the state, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yep, of course. Which is expected, though, because he is quite liberal. Oh, I hate this part. So, there's been a couple polls, actually, so from Mississippi today and Siena College, for the one from Mississippi, it does show Brandon Pressley with a 4% lead, but there's so many undecideds on this one too. While for the second one from Siena, it does show Tate Reeves with a 4% lead, but just like the other one, a lot of undecided voters. So let me go and talk on 2019 barely likely R1. This is a really tough one because Tate Reeves is really a bad GOP candidate. A lot of MAGA people do see him as being a rhino because he changed the Mississippi state flag. And, the pathway, weirdly enough, from Presley would be to get those MAGA Trump voters on his side that do see Reeves as a rhino and see Presley as the MAGA candidate. Which is weird, but it could happen. And if that happens, that's probably the pathway for Presley to win, to outflank Tate Reeves with some MAGAs, which would be an interesting tactic, but could happen. But for now, I do have Tate Reeves winning by a low lean margin. It has dropped from last time. I do have Tate Reeves currently winning by 1.5% to 3.5%, which is a major drop from last time, but Reeves is lucky to be in Mississippi. Although, if he doesn't campaign well, I could see Mississippi flipping. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, it means a lot, and see you next time.